Now, here's the crazy thing about life, about our careers, about what we love to do, which is cybersecurity. We put so much time, energy, and effort into planning everything that's in our life, but we do very little planning to actually design and build our actual life. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome. You know what time it is. Here we go. One more time. Everybody's still in line. Here we go now. Woo! Name that song. Can you name who sings that? I know I'm dating myself here, but you know what time it is. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. The E-Dog is in the house and he is on fire. I hope you are ready for an amazing episode because we are going to lay down some truth, my friends, and we're going to have some fun while doing it. Now, here's the crazy thing about life, about our careers, about what we love to do, which is cybersecurity. We put so much time, energy, and effort into planning everything that's in our life, but we do very little planning to actually design and build our actual life. Just think about this. Do any of you decide one day, I'm going to build a house? So I find a piece of land, I find some construction workers, I dump some wood, dump some nails, dump some saws, and I say, just start building. No, we would never do that because first, it would be awful. Second, we wouldn't necessarily get what we want. And third and most important, it's very, very dangerous and very, very risky. So think about the house that we live in had a blueprint. It had a blueprint that was verified, validated, and inspected. Then, as we're building this house, we had independent people inspect and verify and validate that the house is built correctly. And then before we even moved in, we had somebody do a final inspection to make sure that the house was built correctly. And I could go through this with our cars or anything else that's in our life. But let me ask you a question. If I came up to you, and I do this with my coaching clients, it always throws everybody off. But on one of our first few calls, I go and say, hey, I just nonchalantly throw it in. Normally at the end of a call, I'm like, hey, just before our next call, because I just want to understand clearly what your goal and vision is. I said, before our next call, can you just shoot me over the blueprint you have for your career and your life? And there's sort of this awkward pause where they sort of look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, surely something as important as your life and something even as important as your career. I'm confident that you would have designed, built, and have a blueprint for it. So I'm just asking to see that. Right? And we all know the answer. We don't. Isn't that insane? Isn't that crazy? The things that really aren't that critical. House, cars, possessions. We can get new houses, we can get new cars. We put so much time, energy, and effort into designing, building, and inspecting those assets. But when it comes to our life and when it comes to our career, right, we go to the Vegas table and we roll the dice. We basically wing it. We take it by chance. Isn't that insane? Isn't that crazy? Where one of the most important things, our life, we don't actually have a design for. We just sort of wake up and wing it. It's like, okay, what we've done before, I guess we'll keep doing. And Whatever we was working, let's just keep trying and keep doing it over and over again. But the reality is, you're not getting exactly what you want. The way you get exactly what you want is by having a blueprint, by being very clear and specific about the details. When you have a house built, you don't say 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, let's go. You're specific. You know the size, the location. You're very, very detailed. So even folks that have some high-level goals, like I want to be a CISO in 12 months and make $500K. Great. Where's the details? Where's the specifics? Where's the specificity that goes around that? And that's the crazy part, is we don't have it. And then, this is the wild part, then we wonder, we sit there, scratch our head, and we wonder why we don't have what we desire. Because it's just an idea. It's just a dream. Until we put it down on paper, until we create an actual blueprint, you can't actually turn something into reality. So I have this crazy idea. What if we came up with the ultimate blueprint for being a world-class CISO? And then, here's the crazy part, then you build it. How easy could life be? Right? Because that's the part. If you look at any structure, buildings, bridges, airplanes, and all those things. Now, don't get me wrong. Building it is very, very important. You need to make sure you build it correctly, but building it is irrelevant if you have a flawed design. You put so much time, energy, and effort into the design. You verify, tested, validated, and especially today with computers, you can do so much simulation. When they're building new buildings today, they can go in, depending on the city, they can simulate hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. They can simulate, verify, validate, see the structure, and basically fix everything in the design phase. That's why in designing and putting together a blueprint takes a lot of time, energy, and effort, because that's where details matter. If you get the blueprint right, then building it just becomes following directions. It just becomes execution. So let's go ahead in this episode and have some fun. Let's create a blueprint for a world-class CISO. And then you can use that to build and become a world-class CISO. Because this is really where people struggle. Where people struggle is not because they don't know what they want. It's because they don't know how to build it. They don't know how to get there. And I will tell you, a lot of it is just heading in the right direction. So a lot of the things we're covering are really focused on, let's just get you moving. Let's just get you moving. If we can get you doing different things, if we can get your daily activity to be different, then what happens? If your daily activity is different for a prolonged period of time, what does it become? Habits. So now we can change your habits. And if we start changing your habits, what starts also happening? Your life starts changing. And if your life starts changing, your thoughts start changing. And if you start having different thoughts, you start having different beliefs. And if you start having different beliefs, you then have a different identity. And if you have a different identity, then you now have a different life. So isn't that crazy? Crazy how simple that is? Just nobody ever steps back and puts in the time, energy, or effort to design their most important asset, which is you. So let's go ahead and get started. If we're going to be a world-class CISO, what is the first thing we need? We need a good, solid vehicle that can get us through each day, each week, each month, which means we need a healthy, optimized body. If you are not healthy, if your body is not optimized, if you're always getting sick, always getting in the hospital, taking a lot of prescription drugs, always tired, always need naps, always having mind fog or headaches or things like that, there's no way you can operate at the level that you need to operate at. So let's start there. And remember, what we're starting in building a world-class CISO is just changing daily habits. The analogy I give when I work with clients is this. Rome was not built in a day. I'm not sitting here and saying in 30 minutes, we can go in and get every problem in the world fixed or get every single issue fixed. But here's what we do. Most of us are stuck. Most of us, if we use the boat analogy, have found a safe harbor. We've put our boat in that safe harbor and we anchored. So our boat is anchored. And if you don't believe me, just go back and look at the last 12 months, the last 3 years. Look at your lifestyle. Look at the cars, look at your house, look at your income, look at all those things. If they're relatively the same and haven't changed in a couple of years, my friends, you've anchored. And that's not how you were meant to live. There is so much more potential for you. We're about growing and expanding. So my goal in building this blueprint for a world-class CISO in this episode is to basically do 3 things. One is to get you to lift the anchor so you're no longer stuck in one place. Second is to get out of the harbor. And third is to get you heading in the right direction. So when we're talking about our blueprint here, that's really the 3 things. Because if I can get you to lift up the anchor, get out of the harbor and heading in the right direction, where you're starting to do different things on an hourly, daily, and weekly basis, guess what will happen? Your life will transform because we're making forward progress. So let's start off blueprint, body. First and foremost, not a medical doctor, can't give medical advice. I can just give you experience from what I've learned in my life and share it with you. And once again, always consult with medical professionals in any of this. But world-class CISO, they know what their overall health looks like. When was the last time you got a full battery of blood work? When was the last time you got a full physical done? Blood work doesn't tell you everything, but my friends, it tells you a lot. It tells you a lot about what is going on and what is happening in your life. So if you haven't had blood work in a year, that's one of the first things you need to do. Because the reality is, there might be some issues that you're not aware of because the symptoms haven't got big enough. Because here's the reality. When something starts going awry in your body, when there is misalignment in your body, when the body is not at ease or in the beginning stages of disease, what happens is things start changing, but there's nothing visible. So you don't know. Maybe you start getting a little tired, minor symptoms, but you don't really know. But guess what? The blood work changes. So if you get blood work done, it's one of the early indicators of problems, issues, things you might need to adjust or change or adapt or vitamins or things along those lines. So for example, I mean, simple, I get blood work done usually quarterly, or if I'm a little off, I'll get it done monthly. And I was just feeling a little down. I mean, just not my usual energetic self, just a little down, just a little low and this and that. I go and get my blood work done, and the doctor comes back and he's like, dude, do you know what water is and have you been outside? And I looked at him like, what are you talking about? He's like, you are so dehydrated and your vitamin D levels are so low. He goes, so why don't we change this where we now carry around water and we drink it throughout the day, and we get a really nice table, because I have, in my office, I have 2 balconies. So why don't we put some nice furniture out on those balconies, and why don't you work outside? Get a little sun. And then why don't we give you a little vitamin D supplements to help out with that also. Guess what? It was like a miracle, right? I started drinking water, started sitting outside, getting some sun, started taking some vitamin D supplements, and all of a sudden, everything shifted. So it could sometimes be simple things like that, but if you don't get that blood work done, you don't know. So that's first thing. Second, hydration is critical. Your body is made up mainly of water. So once again, I'm just going to say drink water, right? People say 80, 100, 120 ounces, right? Somewhere in that range. The rule that I have amazing doctors that I work with, and one of my homeopathic doctors, which he basically is the ultimate healer. If you ever have anything, let me know. He is the best in the business, and he can fix anything. And his rule that he always told me is, Eric, it's simple. You always have your cell phone with you. You always carry a glass with you. And the rule is this. If the glass is empty, fill it with water. And if the glass is full, drink it. So essentially, whenever you're walking around, you have this glass, and if it's full, you drink it. And then as soon as it's empty, you fill it with water. And it becomes just a mental thing where now I probably drink somewhere around 80 to 100 ounces of water. But the reality is I'm drinking it on a consistent basis and putting some electrolytes in it for absorption. So that's some basic key things. The two last things on being world-class CISO, you got to move and you got to exercise. So you have to have some sort of weight program, gym program, and cardio program. Once again, depending on where I am, what I'm doing, time management and others, the time varies, but I typically will always, as soon as I get up in the morning, I'll go and do a cardio, anywhere between 20 to 60 minutes of cardio. And then usually afternoon or evening, because I like to break it up. I like to use my exercise as sort of a breaking up the day a little bit. I'll go and do some weights. The nice thing with the internet, yeah, you can hire coaches and there's great programs out there, but there's so many amazing training programs. Right? You just go in and just Google it, or YouTube or Instagram. I mean, there's so many different programs out there. Or what I tell folks is just do something simple as a 3-day split. So one day you're going to do chest and triceps. One day you're going to do legs and shoulders. One day you're going to do backs, traps, and biceps. And just go to a gym that has machines and just put a weight on there. You can do about 10 to 12 reps. Do 3 to 5 sets. Pick 3 to 4 machines for each body part. Piece of cake. I mean, can't get any easier than that, my friends. It doesn't have to be difficult. And then you can mix it up. You can do whatever you want on there. You can put different programs in there. But the point is, if you're going to be a world-class CISO, you need to know your blood work. You need to be hydrated. You need to exercise. And you need to do cardio. That's going to put you in an optimized state. That's going to put you probably in the 10%, maybe 5% of people out there, because everybody puts their body last. That's why in building the blueprint for world-class CISO, I start with the body. It's the foundation. You can have the most beautiful house, but if you have a poorly laid foundation, that house isn't going to last. That foundation is critical for the stability of the house. Your body and overall health is one of the critical parts of the foundation. So you need to make sure that's taken care of. So just plan for it. And I love the thing that people always come back to me is, oh, Eric, I don't have time. Yes, you do. I guarantee that if you took 30, 45 minutes to do cardio in the morning, 30, 45 minutes to do some weightlifting in the afternoon, I can guarantee, there's no guarantees in life, but I can guarantee that the world will still exist. The world will not crumble because you exercised. And I'm pretty sure on this next one, I won't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure on this one that your life will continue to exist. Right? We've just got into bad habits. Right? Trust me. We're not talking about taking away from family or work or things like that. Everybody has distractions, whether it's social media, TV, binge watching, video games, you name it. There is time in your day to put you first. And you need to. So that's the first thing. Second foundational piece is your mindset. If you are not in a good state, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you are limitless and you can do anything, and most importantly, if you don't believe that you're a world-class CISO, not going to happen. I tell you, probably about 70%. I'll have to check the numbers. It teeters between 60 to 80, but right now I think it's about 70% of the folks that come to me that want to be a world-class CISO, overqualified, amazing personalities, beyond experienced. But the reason why they haven't been able to become a CISO for 2, 3, 4, 5 years is because they don't believe they can. Isn't that sad? I mean, it makes me so sad, and it makes me so happy when I help them. But it's so sad. You have this extremely talented, powerful person that's put on this planet to change the world, secure cyberspace, and become a world-class CISO for a top Fortune 50 company. Beyond qualified, beyond experienced, they would make an amazing CISO. But the reason why they are not getting through following with their dreams and becoming that CISO is because they're their own worst enemy. Because they don't believe in themselves. That's sad, right? But it's a reality. So we need to make sure that your mind is clear and focused and aligned. You know who you are, you know what you are capable of, and you're focused on an identity that is aligned with the outcome that you want. So that's the next thing. Do you know who you are? Do you know what your limiting beliefs are? Do you know what is currently holding you back? Every day, you need to work on yourself. This is not something where you're going to solve in one episode. And this episode isn't about me fixing all the mindset. I've done many mindset and I will continue to, so just keep listening or go back and listening to old episodes. This is about the blueprint. So a blueprint for a world-class CISO under mindset is really two main things. Meditate and journal. The answers are within you, my friend. The problem with most of us is we never take time to listen. We never slow down enough to actually listen to what those answers are. So you should be going in and you should be meditating for about 20 minutes a day. I sometimes, if I have some really busy, high-stress days, I'll sometimes meditate a few times. I mean, when I'm sometimes in court or depositions where it is like I am under pressure, like under a depo, you are on the spotlight. When you're on the stand, you are under oath and you're being questioned. That is a very intense time. So we get a 15-minute break. I'll sometimes just go outside or find a quiet spot and just for 5 minutes, just do a quick meditation, clear my mind, reset, and then I go back and I'm ready to be on point and on target. So it's just a great tool that you have available just to clear your mind. Our mind is an amazing piece of machinery. But here's the issue. It needs to have a release valve. And the problem with most folks is we keep having thoughts, we keep overthinking, worrying this, and we keep adding to it that leads to stress and anxiety. But what if we just had 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes where we just sat there and just listen, just let the things go, just release and letting them go. Just let the thoughts have their space. We're not arguing with them. We're not debating with them. We're just letting them be and just they'll dissipate. And it's amazing the clarity and focus you have. And then journaling is essentially a conversation with yourself. The answers are inside of you. So if you're struggling with something or you have a hard problem, I call journaling thinking time. thinking time. So if I'm having a challenge or what should I do about this or this problem or this issue or this customer, I'll just write them down. And then when I have 30 minutes, I'll just pill out one of those things and I'll just journal on, okay, what are some options? What can we do? How can we handle it? Because here's the reality. If you actually sat down when you had a problem and you didn't do what you always do, because if you do what you always do, you'll get what you always had. And you actually sit down and say, what are 5 different ways I can handle this? Because most of the time, like, oh, there's no way to handle this. We can't solve it. But if you say, I'm going to sit here and brainstorm, no matter how crazy, no matter how insane, I'm going to come up with at least 5 ways to solve this, I can almost guarantee one of those will be a better solution than if you just winged it or went with your gut reaction. So journaling is another great tool. So that's the second part of Blueprint for being a world-class CISO. Third, you have a certain amount of energy that you can focus every single day. It's sort of like every single day, the gas tank gets filled up and you run the tank. Sometimes, super stressful, lots of issues, lots of problems, you're out of gas by noon. You probably had those days where like 1 o'clock, you're just like, I'm done. I need a nap, I'm ready to go home. Right? Or some days you're rocking and rolling till 8 or 9 at night. But one of the things that can either maximize the life of your gas or use it up very, very quickly are relationships. Relationships can either be the greatest gift that was ever given to you, where they can support you, uplift you, and encourage you, or they can be the most toxic thing that ever happened and drain you, exhaust you, and want you to give up. So getting relationships in order is critical. And those are typically, depending on where you are in your life, a significant other. If you're dating, spouse, married, anything along those lines, significant other. Could be kids and could be friends. But the reality is this. You need to have appreciation and gratitude for the people in your life. So becoming a world-class CISO, you want to make sure you have that support structure. So one of the things I do is every day I'll write a note to my family, and every day I'll write a little message to each member of my family. Just a little bit of encouragement. I'm thinking about you. I believe in you. I support you. I really appreciate that you did that. Just something, affirmation, because being in a state of gratitude for those around you to help and support you, you get what you give. So if you're always giving anger, criticism, and frustration, you shouldn't be surprised that the relationships are giving you back anger, criticism, and frustration. But if you're giving out gratitude, appreciation, and love, then you're getting back gratitude, appreciation, and love. And then on the friends, once a day, I just try to reach out to a friend, either text or just a quick phone call. If I'm between meetings, driving around, I'll just be like, hey, just wanted to say hi, wanted to see how you're doing. And so sometimes it's one text, sometimes it's 1 minute call, sometimes it's 10 minutes. But the point is, you need a support structure. You need a positive support structure in your life. So once you have those 3 things, then we get to the business side. On the business side, you need to have a balance of business and cybersecurity, which means every week you should be learning new business skill and new cybersecurity. That could be taking a course, that could be reading a paper, that could be reading a book, that could be listening. This is a great one where you compound time. Essentially, when I'm in the gym in the morning, sometimes I just put my headsets on in noise canceling mode and I'm just with my thoughts. So I almost do a mini meditation when I'm at the gym. Other times, I'll actually listen to ebooks and use that as my way to increase my skills, knowledge, and expertise. But the reality is, you need to be listening, learning, or reading something about business and something about cybersecurity every single week, because that's how you expand and how you grow. You also need to have a meeting with at least one of the other executives weekly, because out of sight, out of mind. I had a CISO I was working with, he was like, Eric, I'm just not included They don't incorporate me into meetings. I find about everything after the fact, and it's so disruptive and makes it so much more difficult for me to do my job. And I'm like, well, how often do you step in their office or talk to them or grab coffee or grab lunch? He's like, never. I'm like, we got to change that. So whether you're in a different building and you need to work from the building where the executives are 1 day a week, or swing by and grab coffee, or whatever it is, you have to have interaction with other executives on a daily basis. And then the other important thing is cybersecurity is all about risk management. And the biggest risk are people. Always have been, always will be. So every week as a CISO, you need to be doing something in your company to continue to raise the awareness of the threats that are out there and what every employee needs to do to help protect the organization. It could be a short little message. Hey, remember, one of the number one ways that attackers are going after you is with phishing attacks, links in email. Do not click on a link. Even if you think you know who it came from, do not click on a link. And just raise that awareness there. And then last thing you need to do is you need to review the risk posture, review the risk table, and make sure that all the risks are being properly handled and addressed, because sometimes likelihood, impact, or things could change on a weekly basis that you need to address and assess. Now let me ask you a question. What if that's how you showed up? Every day you exercised, you meditated, you journaled, you reached out to family members and friends, you talked to executives, you worked with the employees, you looked at your risk table, you managed the risk posture. What if you did all of that on a regular basis? What if that was your new blueprint, your new identity? I think we could all agree it might take 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, but if you focus on all of those things on a regular, daily, weekly basis, you will wake up one day and be a world-class CISO.